Bruno Fernandes balls it out on international duty. Manchester United Academy star Dan Gore is loved by all Rotherham fans. He's doing fantastic and many clubs interested in buying him. Offers coming in for Zirkzee in January. Could Manchester United accept a move for Zirkzee in January? Mainoo wants Napoli on loan. That is confirmed by Romano. And Baleba is priority and he is pushing for the Manchester United move. We're going to talk about the latest on Leach's return and another young centre mid being linked to Manchester United, seen as one of the best young and up-and-coming centre mids. I mean, we're being linked to a lot of players at the moment. Obviously, we're not going to sign them all, but this is just 10-minute roundup, and this is where we round up all the latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes for you guys. If you're new to the channel and you do like this content, feel free to subscribe. And of course, you're welcome to like if you enjoyed today's video. Let's get into the news. So, Bruno Fernandes in 90 minutes got 3 goals, created 8 chances, got an assist, 7 shots and hit the woodwork. I mean, obviously 2 goals were penalties, but he created 8 chances. He got an assist, I believe, as well. I didn't watch the game. I don't watch Portugal versus Armenia. I mean, I actually watched like the highlights of the game, so that doesn't really count as watching the game. But look, apparently Bruno was min. Apparently Bruno was being Bruno, and Bruno was playing further up the pitch. Something I feel like we'd quite like to see, but it's difficult because we've got Cunha, Mount, and Bumo. Some of the other players that can play further up. But good to see Bruno balling it out. But let's dive into the news stories. So there's talk coming in of AS Roma ready to put in a bid and offer for Joshua Zirkzee in January, and we're going to talk about that. So this is coming from La Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy via the OneFootball app. AS Roma are leading the race to sign Zirkzee, with manager Gianpiero Gasparini pushing for him. Roma plan a January loan move with a 35 million option to buy. Zirkzee, unhappy with limited minutes at United, is open to returning to Serie A, where he previously impressed at Bologna. Now, I think Manchester United will want a 40 million euro option to buy for Zirkzee so they can completely break even. But maybe they'd accept a 35 million option to buy. There's talk of Manchester United wanting to loan Zirkzee out without an option to buy in case they need him next season or they think they can get more money for him after a few minutes. But Manchester United do not want to loan Zirkzee out, just in case there's a Sesko injury, there's AFCON coming up, and we might need him for depth. But at the same time, we can't promise Zirkzee minutes. Zirkzee, who was happy at United, is now unhappy at United because he's not getting minutes. The World Cup's coming up, he wants minutes. I think Zirkzee is more likely to be loaned out than Mainoo because Zirkzee is third at striker behind Sesko and Cunha. He's third at left 10 behind Cunha and Mount, and he's third at right 10 behind Mbumo and Ahmad. And you could argue fourth if Bruno played further up. And obviously, amorim wants to give Shea Lacey a chance. I think Zirkzee could go, whereas Mainoo was second choice behind Bruno and probably second choice behind Casemiro if fit, even though he's not really that kind of player. I think Zirkzee could be allowed to go, particularly with the interest in him. I think if there's an option to buy included in that loan or an obligation to buy included in that loan, United might say, well, look, we're going to get 40 million for Højlund. We're going to get 26 million for Rashford and his wages saved. If we can get 35 million for Zirkzee as well on top of all of that, considering amorim doesn't want Zirkzee, like I like Zirkzee, I rate Zirkzee, I'd like to see Zirkzee play more and give him more opportunities of minutes because I think there's a very good player there. You might say, well, that's a lot of money to spend and get Baleba and Anderson in the summer and be able to push for potentially a Semenyo or someone, which is something United might consider. The other player that could go out on loan is Mainoo. So Napoli have a bit of an injury crisis in midfield, and I think Napoli will definitely be in the loan market for Kobbie Mainoo now. They were in the loan market for Kobbie Mainoo in the summer. Mainoo actually preferred Napoli to the other Premier League clubs. I guess he's got his boy Højlund and McTominay there, and I guess like he is a United fan. He's quite loyal. I think he'd rather go abroad. Italian league slower. He's more technical. Mainoo. We all know Mainoo would boss it at Napoli. Now he's very interested in joining Napoli on a straight loan with no buy option or obligation to buy. And the reason is that Mainoo sees his career at United. He doesn't want to leave Man United. He wants to go on loan. Maybe he believes he can outlast amorim. Who knows? But he wants to get minutes ahead of the World Cup. He knows he's too good to be on that bench. And look, you're not getting in over Bruno Fernandes. You know, as much as I like Mainoo, he's not going to get in over Bruno Fernandes. So you've got to look at it that way as well. I think Mainoo will want to go and he'll push for a move. But unless we bring Conor Gallagher in on loan, I can't see United letting Mainoo go unless Brighton do decide they're going to sell Baleba in January. Now, Brighton are willing to sell Baleba in the summer, but Baleba's been pretty poor for them this season. They're not happy with Baleba. They're hooking him a lot. Could Brighton sell Baleba in January? Now, Romano said this. Manchester United see Carlos Baleba as a priority target for summer 2026. Baleba is even more keen to join. He remains United's priority for the midfield position. So some reports are saying Elliot Anderson's a priority, other reports are saying it's Baleba. I think it's both. I think we want both. There was talk that we wanted Cunha, there was talk that we wanted Mbeumo, but we ended up wanting both. I think we want both Baleba and Elliot Anderson. I think we want both. I think United will look to cash in a lot of players to afford that. I think Casemiro will go because of his wages. There's a chance Bruno will go. I think United want both. You look at Chelsea, they brought Caicedo and Enzo in, they changed their midfield. Declan Rice changed Arsenal. You have to get that elite midfielder in to make a difference, and that's what United want to do. Baleba is priority. Baleba's even more keen to join. Baleba wants us. He's pushing for the move. I think with his poor form, I know it's seen as a summer deal, a summer 2026 deal, but I think with his poor form, Brighton could, if we put a big enough bid in January, I think Brighton could be tempted. I think you bid 70 million in January and Brighton might go, well, look at the way he's been playing. We could probably buy someone who would play better than this. Like, they keep dropping him, they keep benching him. I mean, right now, Baleba's probably worth 50 million with his performances. He's gone from 100, like, I don't think he was ever a 100 million player, but I was almost at a point in the summer we should pay 100 million for him. I don't think we should pay more than 70 million for him with the way he's been playing. But yeah. Also, I want to talk about Vitek. Harry Amas, Dan Gore, and Vitek's loan is going very well. Particularly Vitek, his loan is going a different level of well. And it's now been said by Sully, who's well connected inside United, that there's internal talks inside Manchester United about Vitek competing with Seny Laumans next season. Vitek would prefer to stay if given the chance. So that will be interesting. Could it be a Dean Henderson, De Gea situation where one player misses out and one player's unhappy? Potentially. But both of these players will be on low wages, so it's not like too bad of a situation. But I think it's one of those, if we're not in Europe, there's no point because we haven't got enough games to rotate. But if we are in the Europa League, you know, there's more games in the Europa League. Vitek can do Europa League and Cup games. Le Mans can do the Premier League games, and we can see and we can have them competing. I'm not against this, but I think you'd have to be in Europe to do it because Vitek has been unbelievable. It was also said by Sully, the expectation is for Licha to return after the international break. The Argentine has worked incredibly hard the entire year after a horrible injury. Obviously, this was reported by other sources yesterday that Licha should be back after the international break. He's obviously gone on international duty with them just to train and be involved with the squad ahead of the next World Cup. I love Licha. He's so injury prone. He's kind of been really unlucky with the injuries because they're contact injuries, not even muscle injuries. I think this is his last chance. I think we've got to be patient with him on his return. He's not gonna hit the ground running right away. But I mean, it's good that like he's going to be back soon, but we'll have to gently mould him in. There's a report coming out from a source called Nico Sharia, or Shira, who apparently isn't the best source of information, but he's now claiming that United are frontrunners to sign Olympiacos midfielder Christos Mouzakitis. Again, not familiar with the player. I haven't watched any of Olympiacos this season, other than the Champions League game against Arsenal. But Olympiacos are believed to want around 30 million euros for the young midfielder. He's an 18-year-old deep-lying playmaker. He's quite good with his passing. Apparently, he's a good line break passer, like quite press resistant, good on the ball. So apparently, he's a very good young talent that a lot of top clubs will be looking at over in Greece. And apparently, United are front runners to sign him, but it's not the most reliable source of information. So we will have to wait for more on that. And last but not least, if you type Dan Gore in on Twitter, all you'll see is Rotherham fans bigging Dan Gore up. Dan Gore is the best midfielder in the league. I don't want to hear anything else. A masterclass today. If we have him by the end of Jan, that's a best bit of business for us, Rotherham United FC. There's talk that Dan Gore is too good for that league. Dan Gore should be in the Championship, not League One. Balling it out for Rotherham, which is good. United, I think they're going to get maybe like 1-2 million for him, which I think we could probably get a little bit more if we give him a Championship loan. Who knows if he'll stay at Rotherham, but he's doing incredibly well there, and they all love him. And look, Dan Gore, it was Dan Gore, Mainoo, and Garnacho in that Youth Cup winning squad those were the three that stood out. Those were the three that I was like, they're going to make it, and two of them technically have made it to an extent. Dan Gore's had no luck with injuries, which I think is what's let him down a bit. So if Dan Gore can get a bit of luck with injuries, that would be absolutely great. And he's starting to get a bit of luck with injuries and he's starting to play well. So I'm just really happy that Dan Gore is doing well because of how unlucky he's been with injuries. Anyway, thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.